A mother thought her loyal dog was acting strange lately. He wouldn't leave the baby's side, not even for a moment. Every time she tried to take the baby away, he blocked her path. Sometimes he'd growl softly, not in anger, but in fear. He would wrap his paws around the baby, holding her tight. At first, she thought it was just jealousy or playful love, but the dog began hiding the baby under blankets and pillows. He'd drag her tiny clothes near his bed, guarding them at night. No matter what she did, he stayed restless, eyes full of worry. Days passed, and his behavior only became more intense. Then one morning, she saw him barking toward the baby's crib. He stood trembling, eyes fixed on something unseen. The mother's heart raced. What was he trying to tell her? When she finally lifted the baby, her hands began to shake. Something cold brushed her fingers, something she didn't expect. That moment changed everything she believed about her dog. It wasn't disobedience. It was devotion. He had seen what no one else could. And when the truth came out, the mother fell to her knees because this dog hadn't been protecting the baby from himself. He had been protecting her from something far worse. The family's house was filled with warmth, laughter, and love. Their newborn daughter slept peacefully in her tiny cradle. Beside her, the loyal German shepherd never left his post. He had been gentle, protective and calm since her birth, but lately his calm eyes had turned restless and wild. He followed every movement of the baby with silent worry. If she cried, he rushed faster than her own mother could. At night, he refused to sleep until the baby was beside him. Sometimes he'd whimper softly, staring into the empty hallway. The mother smiled. She thought it was just affection. But deep down, something about his eyes didn't feel right. They carried a message, one that words could never explain. It began pacing near the crib long after everyone slept. He wouldn't eat unless the baby was in his sight. Every bark felt like a desperate warning no one understood. Neighbors said, "It's just the dog being overprotective," but the mother could sense this was something else. The air grew heavy, nights colder, and his gaze more alert. She didn't know it yet, but danger had already entered home, and her dog was the only one who could see it. Each morning, the mother found the baby's blanket moved. The dog had dragged it closer to his bed. Every single night, he'd curl around it as if shielding it from unseen harm. When she tried to stop him, he whimpered in heartbreak. She began to notice scratch marks near the baby's window, and each time wind blew, the dog growled toward the darkness. It wasn't aggression, it was fear mixed with fierce loyalty. He started blocking the mother from taking the baby outside. Sometimes he'd tug at her clothes to stop her from leaving. The mother's patience began to fade with confusion. Why was her once obedient dog acting like a guard gone mad? She called her husband, but he laughed it off lightly. Still, the dog refused to calm down, always on edge. He began sleeping with his head near the baby's heart. Every sound from outside made him tense instantly. At dawn, he'd stand by the door, watching shadows vanish. The mother didn't know he was fighting something unseen, not a stranger, but something quietly creeping closer. A danger that hid beneath the peace of their daily life. And the dog's instincts were the only alarm they had. It was a cold, still night, the kind that feels too silent. The baby slept soundly, moonlight brushing her tiny face. The dog lay beside her crib, eyes open, heart pounding. He sensed something moving outside, a rhythm too soft. He rose slowly, growling under his breath like a whisper. The mother woke to his restless pacing in the hallway. "Shh," she said, half asleep. There's nothing there, but his ears twitched. He could hear what she could not. The clock ticked louder. Shadows danced across the floor. Then suddenly, a faint scratching came from the window. He bolted, teeth bared, barking like thunder in the quiet. The baby stirred, crying softly, fear filling the room. The mother rushed to hold her, trembling in confusion, but when she turned, the dog was clawing at the curtain. Lightning flashed, and in that second she saw it. Movement. Something dark slipping away into the night's rain. Her blood ran cold. It wasn't imagination this time. The dog had known all along. Danger was near, and tonight he wasn't going to let it take another step, because now his fight had only just begun. Morning came with rain washing away the traces of fear. But the dog didn't relax, his body still tense and ready. He followed the mother every moment, tail low, eyes sharp. Then she saw him do something that froze her heart. He gently took the baby's sleeve in his teeth and tugged. He tried to pull her under his bed, hiding her completely. The mother gasped, thinking he'd lost his mind. But his eyes, they were pleading. Not wild, he barked toward the baby monitor. Then the window again, and that's when she heard it. A faint, buzzing sound. The monitor crackled, then voices whispered through static. Her heart sank. Someone had been listening all along. She unplugged it, terrified. The line wasn't hers. Outside, muddy footprints led to the side of the house. She realized the truth. Someone had been spying on them. The dog hadn't been jealous. He had been guarding her child. Every bark, every warning, was a cry to be understood. Tears filled her eyes as she knelt before him, whispering sorry, because he had been the hero she doubted from the start, and his loyalty had saved the baby's life. That night, the baby slept peacefully, unaware of the danger. The mother sat beside the dog, stroking his tired head. He looked up, eyes soft. No fear, only love remained. She whispered, "You knew all along, didn't you?" He pressed his paw against her knee as if to answer. For days, police patrolled, searching for the intruder. But what haunted her most was not the threat outside. It was how close. She'd come to ignoring his cries. The dog had felt what humans couldn't see or sense. He had protected the purest soul in the house. His instincts were sharper than any camera or alarm. Now she understood. His love wasn't just emotion. It was a silent promise to guard, to protect, to stay. The family began calling him Guardian of Grace. He slept again near the crib, finally calm and at peace. Every night, his breathing synced with the baby's. Every morning, sunlight seemed to bless his fur. He had done what no human could. He saved a life. And in that small home, love had found its truest form, the kind that asks for nothing, but gives everything. News spread fast. A brave dog had saved a baby's life. But inside that home, it was more than just a story. The mother watched him sleep beside her baby every night. His fur rose and fell with each soft breath of the child. She realized heroes don't always wear uniforms. Some wagtails, the police officer who came, said, "He sensed what we couldn't." That line stayed in her mind long after they left. How could a creature of instinct carry such deep love? The dog didn't know about evil. He only knew protection. He felt danger like thunder in his chest before it struck. Every cuddle, every bark had been a silent message. Now the baby's laughter filled the house once more. The dog stood proud, tail wagging, eyes gentle again. He had returned to peace, his mission fulfilled, but his presence now carried something divine, sacred. He had seen darkness and fought it with loyalty. The baby touched his ear, giggling softly in the morning, and the mother whispered, "You're not just our pet, you're family, because sometimes angels don't fall from the sky. Sometimes they arrive on 4 paws and a beating heart." Sunlight returned to their home, soft and golden. The wind carried laughter instead of worry again. The baby had grown stronger, brighter, and full of joy. Every time she smiled, the dog wagged his tail proudly. He followed her first steps like a patient guardian. When she stumbled, he was there before she could fall. The mother often watched them, heart swelling with gratitude. The shadows of fear were gone. But lessons remained. She learned to trust instinct, not just hers, but his too. He had proven that love could speak without words. Each morning, they'd sit by the window sharing sunlight. He'd rest his head in her lap, content and calm. The world outside seemed distant, harmless now. But deep in his heart, his duty never ended. He still slept with one ear open, one eye half awake, even in peace. His loyalty never dimmed or faded. The baby would tug his fur, and he'd never flinch. It was more than play. It was a bond of souls. The house was whole again because he never gave up. Because love, real love, never truly sleeps. One evening, the mother found an old recording device. It had been hidden behind the nursery's dresser for months. When she played it, her hands began to tremble. Voices, faint, low, male, whispered through the static. The intruder had been planning something much darker, and every growl, every warning bark was justified. Her tears fell one by one onto the dog's fur. She hugged him tight, whispering, "I'm so sorry." He simply wagged his tail, of forgiveness in his eyes. He didn't need praise. He just needed her safe. That moment broke her heart and mended it at once, for she realized love isn't spoken, it's shown in silence. He had risked his life without ever being understood. Now she made a promise she'd never forget him again. Promise she'd never forget him again. He would have his own bed, his own place of honor, but he never left her side. He stayed by the crib. Even when he dreamed, his paws twitched protectively. Because heroes don't retire. They rest beside those they saved. And in that house, the baby's guardian had earned eternity. The sound of his heartbeat became the lullaby of peace. Years passed, but their connection only grew stronger. The little girl's first words were spoken beside him. She said, "Buddy," and he wagged his tail with pride. They played under sunsets, chasing light and laughter. He grew older, slower, but his spirit never faded. Each morning, she'd kiss his nose before breakfast, and each night he'd guard her dreams till dawn. The mother often smiled. Love had built this home. When storms came, the girl held his paw tightly. She knew he was her safety, her silent protector. Even the wind outside seemed softer when he was near. He became part of every birthday, every photo, every joy. But time moves, even when hearts wish it wouldn't. His muzzle turned grey, his steps grew slower. Still, he followed her to the bus stop every day. Neighbors said, "He's grown old." But they didn't see. He wasn't tired. He was content knowing she was safe, because his life's purpose had been fulfilled in her smile. He had guarded her first breath, and he'd stay till his last, for some promises last longer than a lifetime. One morning, the sun rose brighter than usual. The girl, now 10, found her dog sleeping peacefully. He looked as if he were dreaming, calm, warm, whole. But this time, he didn't wake when she called his name. Tears fell silently as she laid beside him. Holding tight, the mother stood in the doorway, heartbreaking again, but she whispered softly, "You kept your promise." The house felt empty, but his love still lingered everywhere. His collar hung near the crib, now a symbol of devotion. They buried him under the oak tree he used to rest beneath. Flowers grew there faster, as if blessed by his spirit. The girl often sat there, telling him about her day, because even though he was gone, love hadn't ended. It had simply changed form, from presence to memory. Every storm that passed felt quieter near that tree. Every sunset carried a warmth that felt like his fur. The mother smiled through tears, whispering to the sky, "Thank you for loving her more than life itself." Because some heroes don't need statues or fame. Their legacy is written in the hearts they protected. True love needs no words, no promises, and no recognition. That dog didn't guard the baby for reward. He did it out of pure, selfless love. He saw danger when no one else did, and he chose to protect instead of fear. In his eyes lived the soul of loyalty. In his heart, the courage of a guardian angel. This story reminds us that sometimes God's protection comes wrapped in fur. Love isn't measured by years or language, but by how deeply we care. That loyal dog proved that the greatest hearts don't always belong to humans. And even after he was gone, his love stayed gentle, eternal, unbreakable, because real love never dies. It simply finds a new way to stay.